They should be gathered up, tagged, and put away, where they can never infect the rest of society. Those were words that came out of my classmate's mouth during the first day of freshman orientation, my first day at university. At the start of the class, we had been told to gather in groups and figure out one law that we wanted to implement for the betterment of society. It was orientation day. Classes hadn't started. We were doing these ridiculous group thought experiments to get to know our classmates better. I looked around to my groupmates to see what they thought about what was being said. The guy in front of the class continued to spit his acid. The gays are a danger, ones that should be removed. Acid that his entire group of 5 to 7 college freshmen agreed to present in front of the whole class. I caught the eyes of a kind girl, one of my groupmates, someone sweet enough to invite me to her group when she realized I was alone. We looked at each other momentarily. I saw her give a small, awkward smile, and she shrugged. The teacher, who was leading the discussion, was solemnly nodding her head in front of the classroom, allowing the guy to go on with his tirade. I looked around the classroom full of 18-year-olds, hoping someone was brave enough to speak up. No one did, including me. Ilya's an interesting character, isn't he? Brash, arrogant, almost rude in his bluntness, but definitely extremely charismatic. But just dig a little deeper and you can see how lonely he is at his core. When his mother died, that was when Russia stopped being his home. What did he have left? A father who found a way to disapprove of everything he did, everything he was? Someone who wasn't able to accept him even as he tried his best to fit into his narrow box of expectations? A brother who only took and took and took from him until there was nothing left to give. Someone who simultaneously begged him for money and cursed his name every chance he got. I think people who aren't queer, or even people who are queer but maybe live in parts of the world where being queer and being out is safer, don't realize how suffocating it is to live somewhere where you feel almost constantly unsafe. How isolating it is to hide a part of yourself that you know a lot of your countrymen would loathe you for. A lot of people were pretty pissed at Ilya for ignoring Shane after the Olympics. I'm not gonna lie, when I watched episode 2, I was right there with you. I was angry at Ilya for treating Shane poorly. Like he was some plaything, something he could pick up and put down whenever he wanted. And then I remembered how scary it was for me the first time someone clocked me as gay. How frantic I was to avoid the subject, desperately shifting the conversation, lying about how I didn't know what the fuck being called fruity meant. Granted, they asked me in the weirdest way possible. It's scary being in an unsafe place and even thinking about being found out. Ilya was scared of being found out in Russia, where he could be taken away and disappeared at any moment. And afterwards, he was in denial of his own feelings. He didn't want to be falling for his rival. It would make his life so difficult to be falling for Shane. So he avoided him, tried his best to take his mind away from his quote-unquote stunning freckles. Not falling for him meant safety, because if they were ever found out, it could literally risk Ilya his freedom, maybe even his life. Maybe some days you can see your queerness as something fun, something interesting about you, this cute little secret you have to keep to yourself. Secret's cute until the risk of reveal slams you right in the face. I think maybe it hit Ilya when Shane approached him in Russia during the Olympics. It hit him that any sort of relationship between them could not happen if he wanted to keep Russia. And he was already falling so hard so fast, let's be so fucking real. Would he be able to handle it? Having to leave behind all that he's known? his ailing father, even with all the hurt he's thrown at him, his older brother, who is clearly riddled with his own issues, even after all that he's taken from him. The last place he ever got to see his beloved mother, the place where her body still lies. Ilya's proximity to heterosexuality is a privilege. Ilya can hide behind his machismo and the hundreds of women he is able and willing to fuck. He can do shit like say "I love you" to all his teammates and kiss their cheeks after they score a goal, and not really fear being accused of being gay because it's Rozanov, he can't be fucking gay. He could have hidden all his life. He probably could have gotten over Shane, could have married a nice girl who he could have loved, and never ever have to make that choice. And yet, he was the one who was so desperate to show his love. He wanted to be able to show the whole world his love. His love to Shane Hollander, the perfect golden boy of hockey. This beautiful man who he was so desperate to keep. Who was so sweet and so weird and so cute and so boring. Who loved him back and somehow wanted to keep him too. But Shane wanted to hide them. He wanted to keep their relationship in the dark. Insisted on it even, because of the risk to their careers, all that they've spent their entire lives working for. And maybe other reasons, but Ilya certainly didn't understand what those reasons could be. Probably Shane doesn't even know what those reasons could be. Even Reed herself maybe don't know what those reasons are. I don't live somewhere with active laws illegalizing homosexuality. But people can still be pretty hostile about gay people. If I had moved somewhere where it would finally be possible for me to love freely, I would shout it from the rooftops. I would want to hold my partner's hand in public, kiss them in public, be with them where others could see. For Ilya to want to come out, he has to be certain that he would never want to come back to the country who would persecute him for falling in love. And he'd have to be certain of his place in Shane's life too. Because it's not just about love, is it? It's about Ilya's life. I know a lot of people were pretty pissy at him for suggesting to Shane that he would marry Svetlana. But his relationship with Shane just started. What was he gonna do? Propose? To Shane? Someone he wasn't even sure he would get to keep? The certainty of a marriage would mean not being able to be dragged back to a country who would hate him. If they were ever outed, if the NHL ever decided to cut his contracts, being married to someone would mean being able to stay free, to stay alive. But by the long game, he was ready to risk it all for Shane. There was nothing left for him in Russia. If leaving it behind is what it would take to finally be able to be with Shane openly, he would have chosen to do so every single time. I feel like Reed was able to write so much more of Ilya's point of view, and I do kind of credit Galina, like the therapist character, for that. We get to read explicitly about his depression, his feelings on his family, obviously how isolated he feels about having to hide. We even get to see how he feels about his sexuality, which, not gonna lie, is kind of so fucking real, to be honest. No, they never did. It just seemed like an opportunity for more sex. It was the truth. Maybe if he hadn't been attracted to girls first, he would have been scared, but being attracted to men as well had always made him feel evolved. Tell me why Rachel Reed, of all people, knew exactly what 15-year-old closeted me thought. Miss Reed, are you a repressed queer teenager from a homophobic country? How did you know? Tucks hair behind ears. Miss Reed more like misread me for filth, because this is 100% what I thought at one point in my life. I was like, ugh, I don't understand how people can limit themselves to only liking one gender. That doesn't make any sense. I really thought I was fucking enlightened because I liked both. I don't know what I was smoking. My own farts, probably. I honestly would have liked something like Galina for Shane. Like, we get to read so much of Ilya's issues from his therapy sessions. I hope we could get something similar for Shane. Maybe if not a therapist, we could get him to actually talk to his parents, or to Rose or Hayden or somebody. Talk to him about how he feels. Then maybe we could actually finally be able to learn more about him. Ilya finally being able to freely love Shane at the end of the long game is a dream. His wildest fantasies come true. He got married to his husband in front of all the friends he was finally able to start opening up to. He's finally able to have a family again after he lost his when he was 12. He gets to play with his husband on a team that's already starting to win more games. None of those things could come close to curing his depression. But opening up, finally being able to communicate with the people he loves, knowing that he was loved in turn, no longer feeling the pressure of keeping such a large part of himself secret to the world, it's a good start. I think I projected enough at fictional characters for today. So sorry if this video was more rambly and had less of a point than my previous one. I just wanted to let my feelings out. I also still owe y'all a video on the stereotype Shane was written with in the books. I just got too excited writing the script, and I haven't quite finished that script yet. The next one, for sure. I hope so. Thank you for watching. Also, low-key, I cried so much writing the script. The first time I tried to record the script, I was just sobbing the whole way through. I have no clue what is wrong with me. This is why I like Shane more, by the way. He's my favorite character. He doesn't make me cry.